And on we go. The recording's on.
Well, good morning and welcome everybody, and thank you for attending this morning's webinar to find out more about higher and degree level apprenticeships. I'm Carolyn Rennick and I'm the Cabinet Member for Economic Growth at North East Derbyshire District Council. And my team, and in particular Jane Weston, our Senior Employment and Skills Officer, have recently developed and launched the district's first employment and skills policy. And whilst it's not the district's statutory duty to provide education and skills specifically, we did feel strongly that this council played its part in the levelling up agenda. And as part of our new growth strategy, we are doing a significant amount of regeneration across North East Derbyshire. For example, we've just been awarded just short of 25 million for the Clay Cross town deal. We're just one of 101 towns lucky enough to win this funding. And this will see the creation of a skills hub, a creative work sector, hundreds of new jobs across Clay Cross alone. And with the amount of new housing, business premises, we will need dozens of jobs in the construction centre alone. And we are working on a skills bid to try and support this sector specifically. Apprenticeships are largely driven by the need to fill the skills gap. And they're a great way to upskill existing staff and indeed recruit new staff. And they provide actual hands-on or on-the-job training and experience. And I think this gives some people a much better understanding of an industry and actual work ethic, and it's also without the colossal debts from tuition fees. I also believe it widens the net for a greater talent pool and brilliant opportunities for some people, young actually, indeed older people, to acquire skills, knowledge, opportunities and jobs where more formal routes don't seem to suit. I'm actually a huge fan of apprenticeships and really pleased that they now provide our workforce with higher level qualifications too. And I'm thrilled today that our panel have a wealth of experience and also a passion for supporting apprenticeships. So our panel today, we have from the University of Derby, we have Andy Dowling, who worked in sales and marketing for over 20 years in both the private and public sector. He's worked at the university for almost 10 years, leading on business development for work-based learning programmes and apprenticeships. And since 2017, Andy has grown the apprenticeship numbers at the university from around 150 to now 1,450. So huge congratulations, Andy, and welcome. We also have Spencer Ryan-Prewett, who's an award-winning economic regeneration specialist who secured and managed the delivery of over 100 million of business support, growth and training and development projects in the UK, Europe and North America. Having led programmes supporting over 20,000 small and medium enterprises, Spence was appointed to a United Nations Advisory Group for Crime Prevention and Counter-Terrorism, with a specific focus around dissemination and training to small and medium enterprises. With a passion for supporting business growth, job creation and economic prosperity, Spencer is currently the academic lead for business management and leadership degree apprenticeships at the University of Derby. Welcome to you, Spencer. That's a hugely impressive CV there. And finally, we have Lee Barnes, who's the Managing Director of Inspire Design and Development. Lee is a civil engineer by qualification and established Inspire as consulting engineering practice following a successful freelance career. Lee has built a successful team of engineers that range from 17 to 70 years old and is keen to provide continuous education and professional development opportunities for all team members. Hugely laudable, Lee, and welcome to you. Finally, I'd just like to introduce Maria, who's also with us today. She's an intern at North East Derbyshire District Council and has organised this event, so thank you, Maria. I have to say I've been hugely impressed by Maria, and in fact all our interns that have joined the district this year. They are super bright, super cool, dynamic, confident, and bring a new dimension to our teams with a fresher, younger perspective. So thank you, Maria. It's a pleasure to work with you. And thank you also to Jane Weston, who's done decades of work for us across the district on skills. She's really our skills champion. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Andy and Spencer to talk to you about the higher and degree level apprenticeships and their sort of flexible offer. And hopefully we'll hear then from Lee from Inspire Design, who will talk about the benefits of higher and degree level apprenticeships and his own staff's experience. Hopefully a quick Q&A session, and then hopefully we'll sum up in about an hour's time. Over to you now, Andy. Thank you.
Morning all. So thanks very much for the introductions, Councillor. So yeah, funny enough, with Lee, we've already got 2 apprentices with Lee's company already, and I'm sure Lee might go through that later on in his presentation. But just to provide you with an overview, so I'm just trying to on to the next slide. Oh yeah. So just to provide you with an overview of apprenticeships first of all at the University of Derby. So we've been delivering higher apprenticeships and degree apprenticeships since for a while now. We started with higher apprenticeships in 2012 when there was actual hefty money designed that we could draw on to develop higher apprenticeships. And we started apprenticeships in minerals and also in nursing as well. They successfully grew and grew and grew, which was great, and we formed very strong links with local employers all over Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, and really across England, to be honest. Since 2012, we've grown from circa, well, initially we had around 150 apprentices. Now we've got 1,700 apprentices across our group. So we've got, when I say our group, we've got the University of Derby and also Buxton Leek College as well. So we've got 1,450 circa roughly within the university and the remainder at our college. What we've done is worked with all of our local and national employers to look at the apprenticeships and the skills gaps and the issues that they're looking at to address within their businesses. So really we have apprenticeships in main themes around management, engineering, nursing, teaching, policing and minerals really. So they're the main areas that we're very strong in. Public sector has always been a massive area for the university. About 80% of our apprentices come from the public sector in some sort of role really. So what my next slide really, I just wanted to go through what is an apprenticeship. I know majority of people know what an apprenticeship is, but it's sometimes good just to highlight what it is. It is a system of training, a new generation. It's job role related as well. That's the most important. That's what I always say. First and foremost, it's a job role, and it's designed to support somebody to develop their skills, their knowledge, and behaviours in that specific job role. So it combines work and study, and the earn while you learn is really important as well with an apprenticeship. And it's interesting that we've got, give the example of the civil engineer degree apprenticeship, which I'm going to touch on in a minute or two. We've got lots of civil engineers that obviously started fresh within their businesses 3 or 4 years ago and are now 3 to 4 years into their degree apprenticeship on civils. And let's say one of their friends who's gone to university just to do a civil engineering degree. It's going to be interesting in a few years' time when they both graduate to see who's got the most experience, and you can guarantee it's going to be the apprentice, because they've got obviously the on-the-job training as well. So with apprenticeships, you've got the off-the-job element. So typically it's a day a week that you're released to learn about those knowledge, skills and behaviours for the apprenticeship, and then you've got that 80% on-the-job experience that you're learning on a day-to-day basis as well, which is really important. It's training in skills that employers want as well. So all apprenticeships have been developed by employers as well, which is great. So they're all employer driven. They provide excellent progression opportunities. We've got loads of case studies and examples now where our apprentices have actually been promoted as a result of an element of the apprenticeship that they've been doing. Certainly increased future earning potential. I think, like I mentioned at the start, you're obviously employed as well 4 or 5 years in. So once you've completed your degree apprenticeship, you've got that experience on the job, you've got the qualification, and the chances are you're going to have a stronger career as a result. You can also study on an apprenticeship at your own pace. You know, apprenticeships are designed for all. You can be studying it part-time as well. We've got part-timers. We've got various different scenarios that we can certainly explore with individuals to ensure that they can complete the 20% off the job training in their own time. So just to provide you with an overview of the apprenticeships that we have within the wider university, I know Spencer in a minute or two is going to discuss the operations and departmental manager, as well as the chartered manager degree apprenticeship. And I'm going to go through some of the engineering apprenticeships that we have. But just to touch on those areas and themes that I mentioned at the start, as you can see, nursing, teaching, policing, all in there, as well as the engineering and management. Now, 20% off the job training. Just touched on it a minute or two ago. A lot of employers look at it and think, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose somebody a day a week. How's that going to impact on my business? What we try and do is work with you, the employer, to develop a learning plan that's bespoke. We're very creative with our 20% off the job training and how we deliver that. Spencer again will go through some of the blended approaches to how we deliver the operations departmental manager and also the chartered manager in a minute or two. But this slide just provides you with some of the examples that can go towards the off-the-job training. So, you know, stuff like site visits, where you go to another site, possibly within your business, or could it be a client site? You're learning new knowledge, skills and behaviours there. Shadowing as well. So let's say as an apprentice, your manager goes away and you know on annual leave, and you take on some of their responsibilities. That's new knowledge, skills and behaviours, you know, and you're doing them on the job as well, which is great. The workplace mentoring is so important as well, to give that individual, when they're doing the 20% off the job training, exposure to various departments within the employer to get those knowledge, skills and behaviours. The 20% includes simulations, role play, which you can be doing both on the job, so you're applying some of the knowledge, skills and behaviours that you've learnt into your working role. As well as your standard stuff like lectures and seminars and online learning, because I think a lot of people just think of it as that it's going to be someone sitting in a classroom, and it's not. The other big thing is the assessment preparation, which again I'm sure Spencer will go through in a bit, as providing some examples that he has with some of his apprentices. So just to touch on the engineering theme, so what I wanted to do is promote two engineering apprenticeships that we currently deliver within the university, which might be of interest to the wider employers in North East Derbyshire District Council area. So the first one is the manufacturing engineer degree apprenticeship. So we started this one a few years ago, actually working very closely with JCB on it, and we've now got employers from really, I always say, planes, trains, diggers and automobiles as well on it, a mixture of different employers, which is great, and they're sending us apprentices regularly. Obviously they've got their different sectors, and all of their apprentices are able to share knowledge and skills with different apprentices from different employers, which is really great. So typically the apprenticeship lasts for 60 months. We have, I think, got a practical period, which tends to be about 48 months. So the practical period is where actually you're learning the knowledge, skills and behaviours for the apprenticeship. So you're learning that on a weekly basis through that 20% off the job training. And typically with higher and degree apprenticeships, we always map a university recognised qualification to them as well. So the off the job training and the practical period is when you're doing that degree element as well. So as I mentioned, that's typically 48 months. You've then got a further 12 months to prepare and get ready for that endpoint assessment. So after you've done the 48 months, you get to a thing called a gateway point, where we review that you've done your degree, if there's a functional skills requirement as well, and also ensuring that your e-portfolio, which is where you're uploading those knowledge, skills and behaviours evidence to, is all up to date and ready. So typically it's 60 months for the manufacturing engineer degree apprenticeship. So what we've done is we've mapped 3 BEng qualifications to this apprenticeship as well. So as I mentioned, we've got employers from planes, trains, automobiles and diggers on this apprenticeship. They send us engineers from who want to look at different disciplines within engineering. So they could go down a straight manufacturing pathway, as you can see, or they can look at the mechanical design with manufacturing, or also if they wanted to specialize in electronics, they've got that as an option as well. Now the structure, as you can see, how it works over that sort of 48-month period. So the credits is what you're sort of studying for the degree element, and when you're doing those credits, you're also building up those knowledge, skills and behaviours that you upload to that endpoint assessment as well. So that's really the manufacturing engineer degree apprenticeship. Now we also run the civil engineer degree apprenticeship, which Lee does have an apprentice with us currently, which is really great. So I just want to say the definition from our head of apprenticeships for engineering, Angela Dean, who unfortunately couldn't make it today, but she was talking about this program as being suitable for engineers that undertake design, feasibility, project planning, or site work for projects, operations in road, rail, water, infrastructure management, including safety and quality checks. The embedded degree, which has been mapped to the apprenticeship as well, again, very similar to the manufacturing engineer degree apprenticeship. While you're studying that, you're also building up those knowledge, skills and behaviours as well, getting ready for that endpoint assessment at the end. Now, the civil engineer is heavily aligned with the Institute of Civil Engineers. You can gain incorporated engineer status through that endpoint assessment as well. Again, it's a 48-month practical period for this apprenticeship, very similar to the manufacturing one, with that 12-month element to get you ready for that endpoint assessment. So there's a lot of practical elements, both on the manufacturing engineer and also on the civil engineer. So you tend to find with engineering apprenticeships, there probably is a little bit more face-to-face than probably a typical management apprenticeship. But as you can imagine, there is obviously a lot of technical knowledge and skills that need to be passed on and embedded. So it's important that we can get the apprentices on site to be able to utilize some of the facilities and apply that learning. So the other thing is, so we've got, and I mentioned about the e-portfolios that we use. So across the university, our main e-portfolio is Smart Assessor. For the civil engineer, we also have to use the Institute for Civil Engineers portal as well to upload the knowledge, skills and behaviour. So there's two e-portfolios linked to this apprenticeship. So I just wanted to also, so this provides you with an overview of the degree for the civil engineer as well. Similar to structure really to the manufacturing engineer, where you study various credits over various years. There are different modules that you can contextualize to your own employer's needs as well, which is great. As you can see, there's an independent project at level 6 as well that you can study on. We started the civil engineer degree apprenticeship 4 years ago. We've now got over 100 apprentices on that apprenticeship, so it's been very successful so far. And now we're starting to get apprentices going through endpoint assessment as well, which is very exciting. Now, just to highlight the facilities that we have from an engineering perspective. So 3 years ago, we opened our STEM facility based at our Markeaton campus in Derby. It has various different rooms and different areas to specialise in the various themes for engineering, obviously focusing on STEM subjects. It'd be really good if any employer locally within the North East Derbyshire area would like to come down and view some of that equipment and facilities. We can certainly facilitate that. So now just moving on to Spencer.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for that, Andy. Andy, are you happy to progress the slides?
Yeah, do you want me to click when you need to?
Bless you. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for that, Andy. And thank you for the invite over today. My name's Spencer. I'm the academic lead for management apprenticeships at the University of Derby. So what I'd like to do over this next slot, if you like, is to talk you through the management apprenticeships that we have at Derby. And again, it's great to to see Lee in the group this morning as well, having one of his team actually on one of my programs as well. So that's really good as well. So first and foremost, on the screen you can see here a bit of an overview and description of degree apprenticeships. So principally it combines the two elements of that academic knowledge element, whereby you're learning about models, theories, tools and concepts relating to management and the underpinning behind what those things mean, why they work, what they're for, what the principle is behind them. And then that professional competence element that lifts those theories and tools and concepts and gives you the opportunity to test them and use them and utilize them within your role for your development, for the development of your team, and ultimately for the development of the organization as a whole. So it's combining those things. And this is what we refer to as an applied management project. It's not just about being able to learn and repeat theory, it's being able to learn about management concepts and actually utilize them to help you develop in your role and help your organization develop as part of that return on investment, I guess, really, that your employer makes into the time and the financial investment that's undertaken in supporting team members to undertake a degree apprenticeship like this. Thank you, Andy. If you'd move it on, please. Excuse me. So at the University of Derby, as Andy's mentioned, we have coupled the apprenticeship to university qualifications, and these are what we term as dual awards. And principally what that means is that for the programs that I'll be describing to you in more detail in a moment, you undertake academic modules of learning within the university. And the outcome of those academic modules of learning within the university is you will either end up with a foundation degree in business management and leadership, or you will end up with a degree in business management and leadership. Now, because this is an apprenticeship program, we've mapped our degree programs to the Chartered Management Institute assessment criteria for the Operations and Departmental Manager Apprenticeship and also the Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship. So in effect, in undertaking these apprenticeship programs, you end up with 2 foundation level qualifications, foundation degree level qualifications, or 2 degree level qualifications, depending on the program that you join. So if you join the foundation degree program, you end up with a foundation degree for Operations Departmental Managers, Business Management and Leadership, and you also end up with a level 5 diploma from the Chartered Management Institute. And in that sense, they are effectively, because we're talking about level 5 qualifications, there is a parity between them. So you end up with literally 2 qualifications at that level. For the degree level, you have the Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship Diploma, which is level 6, and you also have the full degree from the University of Derby in Business Management and Leadership. Now, alongside those, because you're undertaking level 5 and level 6 qualifications with the Chartered Management Institute, you are also credited with Chartered Manager status from the Chartered Management Institute. And it's very similar to how you hear of other chartered status, Chartered Accountant, Chartered Surveyor. It's a recognition of your status and competence and capability as a manager within your organization, having undertaken these qualifications. Thanks, Andy. If you just move it on for me. Thank you. So principally, then we have 2 core qualifications that fall within my program area. And as you can see, although there's 4 elements on the screen there, I'll explain that in a bit more detail in a moment. So we have the foundation degree in business management and leadership, and that's coupled, as I said a moment ago, with the level 5 diploma for operations departmental managers. That program takes 27 to 30 months because the academic modules behind that equate to 2 years, and then we add 3 to 6 months onto the end of that to facilitate the gateway process to lead to endpoint assessment. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with endpoint assessment, principally it's an external assessment that's undertaken independently from the university, and it's the mandatory part of passing the apprenticeship as far as the government funding behind levy and such like is concerned. So as I say, the foundation degree is a 27 to 30 month program on that basis. The Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship, as you can see, we have 3 different versions of it here. When I say different versions, it's purely in relation to the entry point. So overall, we can support individuals to join the programme at levels 4, 5 or 6. And the basis of those entry points is to recognise prior qualifications, prior professional experience that enables us to credit you with that experience or that qualification to join the programme at a higher level on that basis. And as you can see, the level 4 entry point is 51 to 54 months in exactly the same way as the foundation degree. So it's a 4-year programme with 3 to 6 months on the end for gateway and endpoint assessment. The level 5 entry point, as you can see in the middle there, is 39 to 42 months. So it's a 3-year programme with 3 to 6 months for gateway and endpoint assessment. And the level 6 top up is 27 to 30 months in exactly the same way again. 2 years for the academic modules with 3 to 6 months for gateway and endpoint assessment. Thanks, Andy. So moving on in terms of actual structure then for the operations and departmental manager. What you're seeing on the screen here is a typical structure that we would undertake as part of that programme. The University of Derby online learning, which is what my team is part of, we actually run and operate 3 terms a year rather than the traditional on-campus 2 terms a year. And the reason for that is because we recognise that actually, as in most cases, full-time employees undertaking a degree level programme as well, you have a full-time job to do, you have homes and families to see and run and keep operating, in addition to the fact that you probably would like some downtime and some leisure time and some time to be able to relax. So in structuring our programme around 3 terms, it gives us the opportunity, first and foremost, to concentrate on one subject area per term. Now, for full-time on-campus university students, they can be studying 3 or 4 different subject areas every term. Now, recognising, as I said, that fact that a lot of the students are working full-time, home lives, family lives, and having the opportunity to relax, we find that structure around just having one core subject area per term works best in terms of giving that ability to be able to study effectively alongside everything else that's going on in people's lives, but also it gives the opportunity to really focus and drill down on a specific subject area for that term. And in doing so, it gives us the best opportunity then to identify with each student how they can utilize that information that they're learning within their role and within their organization, for the personal benefit of getting a better understanding of the organisation, developing further academically, and also improving their performance, their behaviour in the workplace as a result. Our terms run September, January and May, and we do intakes generally of new students in September and January. It's not very often we'll do an intake in May, if I'm completely honest, but those are the periods that we run. September, January and May for term times, and intakes in September and January. So as I say, what you can see on the screen here is the typical programme structure for the level 5 operations and departmental manager apprenticeship. Thank you, Andy. Moving on then to the chartered manager degree apprenticeship. So what you can see on the screen now is the 4-year programme. Operates in the same way as the operational departmental manager, in the sense that we have a dedicated subject per term, 3 terms per year. The only difference is it's over a 4-year programme. The exception on this particular programme is the final 2 terms, where you can see in the bottom right hand corner there, professional review and business impact project. Professional review is part reflective, so it looks back on the development of the individual over the entirety of the programme that they've been on. It's also part engaging their analysis and their reflection into what that actually means for them in the organisation, what it means to the team around them within the organisation, what it means to the employers within the organisation, whereby part of that process is they will undertake a 360-degree review. They will reflect that against the learning that they've undertaken. They will put together a forward plan in terms of their development and look at and consider how they can further progress everything that they've learned coming out of the programme into that development of themselves, their teams and the organisation. The Business Impact Project is, I suppose it does what it says on the tin, really. It's a project that's undertaken within the organisation that is designed to have a positive and hopefully significant benefit to the organisation. Within the apprenticeship programme, the Business Impact Project is the nearest our students will get to undertaking a dissertation. And that's why that particular module is delivered over 2 terms, because as part of that process, the students will identify an organisational issue that they want to improve or develop or introduce even. With the agreement and support of the employer, they will devise a project to address that issue. They will actually then deliver and fully evaluate that project over approximately 8 months. Now, the important part about that project is, well, it's I guess multifaceted really, in the sense that it gives the students the opportunity to really understand project management, because we take them through the project management tools, theories, models and concepts. It gives them the opportunity to apply that learning in the delivery of the project that they undertake. From the employer perspective, it's delivering an immediate positive outcome because it's about a live project within the employer. And actually, it's also crucial as far as the endpoint assessment is concerned, because that project is assessed independently as part of the endpoint assessment, and the students actually have to present that project as part of the endpoint assessment. So it fulfills a lot of functions within the development of the individual over the programme as a whole. Thank you, Andy. So similar again, I do apologise. Similar again, the structure of the level 5 entry point is very, very similar. In effect, this model that you see on the screen now is exactly the same as the previous one, with the removal of the level 4 modules in simplicity. Thank you, Andy, if you go again. And then finally, this is the level 6 top-up that you're looking at the moment. And in a similar way to what I've just described previously, this is effectively a level 6 entry point. So students coming onto this programme will have previous qualifications, perhaps at level 4, 5, possibly 6, and more significant operational professional experience as well. Now, the question that we usually ask at this point is, how is it determined which entry point a student will join the programme at? So the process that we have to go through is that every student will undertake what we term as a skills scan in relation to the knowledge, skills and behaviours associated with the qualification. I know Andy's mentioned the knowledge, skills and behaviours a few times in his presentation there. The knowledge, skills and behaviours are the criteria that we have to meet. We have to demonstrate that you meet as a student in passing the apprenticeship as a whole. So we undertake a skills scan right at the very beginning of the programme, whereby we identify individual competencies against each of those knowledge, skills and behaviours. We look at previous work experience, we look at previous qualifications, and we also undertake an interview with every prospective student for the programme. The combination of those things and from our history and experience in delivering the programme gives us the ability to provide the best possible advice in terms of the entry point for students onto the programme. That's effectively the mechanism that we utilise that determines whether we will offer a place at level 4, level 5 or level 6 entry points. Thank you, Andy. So looking at that, then at how that actually operates on a term-by-term basis. So as I've said, each term is a dedicated specific individual module, and the module breaks down as you can see on the screen here. So for a few weeks prior to the module actually starting, students will have access to our virtual learning environment called Blackboard. Within the virtual learning environment, there is pre-reading for the module, there is the reading lists, there is study materials, there's activities. So for a couple of weeks prior to the start of the module, students have the opportunity to familiarise themselves with what's coming for that term. In normal circumstances, we would then formally kick off the term and the module with 2 full days of classroom teaching back to back. Now, we've had to alter that clearly in terms of the last 18 months in relation to the pandemic situation, and we've delivered those programmes over 4 3-hour sessions over 2 weeks. And the reason that we've done that is, if I'm completely honest, delivering 2 full days of teaching online back to back is probably not going to be a pleasant experience for anybody involved. And it makes it really difficult in terms of the day-to-day distractions of being sat in front of a screen with phones going off around you and children coming home from school, and apologies, as I had a moment ago, pets getting involved and barking and making noises. So that's why we took the decision to break that down into 4 3-hour sessions. So typically, at the moment, we would deliver those full 2 days of teaching by way of a 3-hour session on a Tuesday and Thursday for 2 weeks. It gives the students the opportunity to account for that time and agree that with their employers well in advance. We usually release the timetables a good 12 weeks before the sessions actually start. So there's plenty of headroom in terms of being able to plan for them. All of the sessions are recorded as well, because we also know that there will always be peaks and troughs in workload and issues that arise at short notice that will inhibit a student's ability to attend every single session. Wherever possible, we encourage it because it gives the opportunity to have that live conversation and discussion about the subject. But we do record everything to ensure that the students can go back to it if they haven't been able to meet the session, if they want to utilize it for a refresher. In particular, students use them as study materials as part of developing their coursework as well, which is really useful. And that is one of the benefits, if you like, one of the positives that has come out of the COVID situation from our perspective. That's also given us the opportunity where there are particularly difficult theoretical concepts to get across, where we can lift those out of a wider session and put something on specifically to address that. And we actually come to the point where we identify that during the teaching. So if we get to a point within a taught session where the group is really struggling with a particular concept, because of the online practices that we now have in place, we can literally say, right, okay, well, let's lift that out for now, and we'll put a specific hour on for that on Friday next week. And we would just dedicate time to that. And in doing that, it gives us the opportunity to be much, much more flexible and responsive to the student needs. And in that sense, from the student's perspective, it's probably not dissimilar to just booking an appointment in their diary in the manner that they normally would. So that's been really positive as well. And it's something that we will definitely be continuing come September and going into next year. Touch wood, hopefully, if it's safe and sensible to do so when we're back in the classroom. So following the initial teaching, whether that's 2 days of block teaching or the online sessions as I've just described, we then go into the first 7 weeks of online teaching. We have 10 weeks in total of online teaching and study materials with supporting activities that have been designed and mapped to the Chartered Management Institute assessment criteria. So each of those activities that the student undertakes as part of their online learning, they can put straight into their portfolio. And it gives them the opportunity to start marking off assessment criteria that they've achieved right from the very beginning of the programme. The online study and the activities are also facilitated by the module tutor. So feedback is provided as part of that process, individual support is provided as well as group support within that online teaching. Around week 7, we also have a further full day of teaching. That gives us the opportunity to consolidate the learning that's been undertaken in the previous 7 weeks. It gives us the opportunity to outline and set some teaching up for the following 3 weeks, for the remaining 3 weeks of the programme. And at that stage as well, we also undertake coursework briefings. So that gives the students the opportunity to have a really thorough and in-depth understanding of what the expectations are by way of the coursework that they will submit at the end of the module, usually around week 12 or 13. They would then submit their coursework around week 12 or 13, and the university policy then is we have 3 weeks following that to take the paperwork through, or the submissions through internal marking, internal moderation, and then external marking in anticipation of ratification of the grades at the assessment board. Excuse me. Thank you, Andy. If you wouldn't mind moving on for me.
I was just going to mention as well that it's a vision for the university to be able to deliver face-to-face elements of both management apprenticeships and some elements of engineering apprenticeships from our St Helena campus in Chesterfield as well, which will obviously certainly be more accessible for the from the North East Derbyshire area as well. So that's one thing that we really are trying to promote today in this webinar. Hopefully in the future we can deliver cohorts on management apprenticeships and engineering from St Helena.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, so Andy mentioned briefly about off-the-job learning. Now there is a commitment requirement. It's a mandated requirement from the government that both the employer and the student commit to undertake 20% of their working week time in their training and development. Now, one of the things that is a little bit of a misconception around that is that students have to say, right, from Friday you can't speak to me because I'm teaching, because I'm undertaking training and development. It doesn't work like that. Principally, what we're saying is, if an individual is working full-time, approximately 7 to 8 hours a week has to be allocated to their training and development. That can incorporate activities that they undertake with the university. So any teaching, lectures, webinars that they undertake, any time that they spend on the online study materials can count towards the 20%. Tutorials can count towards the 20%. But as well as that, learning and development that will be undertaken within their employment will also count towards their 20% of their off-the-job learning. So training and development that assists them to develop and grow within their role within the organisation is completely valid as far as that 20% allocation is concerned. So if they're taking part in shadowing and mentoring within the workplace, and it's supporting them to develop new knowledge, skills and behaviours within their role, that counts towards the 20%. If, for argument's sake, an individual is within a sales team within the organisation and they have the opportunity to attend a finance meeting to get a better understanding of the relationship between finance and sales in the organisation and how that team operates, that's completely valid as part of developing that individual and counting towards their 20%. So the key tests really in terms of what's valid and eligible as far as the 20% is concerned is the time spent within their normal working hours? Is the individual undertaking training and development that can support them in their knowledge and understanding of their role? And are they learning new knowledge, skills and behaviours? If those 3 tests are met, it's valid and eligible as far as that 20% off the job learning is concerned. And I do apologise about my dog now just getting angry and aggressive and barking in the background somewhere. Thank you, Andy. So in terms of the support infrastructure then around both the university and the employer for apprenticeships, first and foremost, every individual needs to be allocated a work-based mentor. There's a couple of different thought processes on that. Some organisations are happy for the line manager to be the work-based mentor because of the proximity to the student and the role and those kinds of things. Other organisations prefer that the work-based mentor is not the line manager. And the principle behind that really is that the mentor then not being the line manager can give the individual accessibility to other parts of the organisation that they wouldn't necessarily be engaged with on a normal day-to-day basis. Within the university, we have the programme lead. In this particular case for the management apprenticeships, that's myself. I'm always accessible and available to students, employers, line managers and mentors. The first point of contact generally is the module tutor and the personal tutor, but everybody has accessibility to my details and I can be contacted for really whatever support is required around the programmes. Every module that we run has a module tutor clearly, and the module tutor is a subject specific expert in that subject, and they are the first point of contact in relation to queries and questions relating to the subject knowledge and area. They also support all of the online study materials during that period. Every student is allocated a personal tutor, and our ideal scenario, and it does tend, or it has tended to work so far, our ideal scenario is that the personal tutor is allocated to the individual and is with the individual for the duration of their programme. The benefit to that really is that it gives the personal tutor and the apprentice the opportunity to really get to know each other well. You get to understand each other's working style, the approach to the apprenticeship, and also from the personal tutor's perspective, they really get to understand the individual's job and can provide the best possible advice in terms of how to gather and pull together evidence that presents that student in the best possible light as far as their portfolio of evidence is concerned. We have a team of online learning advisors. The online learning advisors will support across all sorts of queries and questions, anything really from, you know, I've been under a lot of pressure at work and I need an extension of my deadline for this particular piece of coursework, right through to I'm having financial problems and I need to contact wellbeing support and get some advice in terms of finance support. And the wellbeing facilities within the university are pretty immense, if I'm completely honest, ranging from everything from a GP practice through to support, advice and guidance on mental health, finance, addiction, just every possible thing that you can think of, really. We have a full IT function that will support with all of the technology accessibility, and that will incorporate things like ensuring that students have accessibility to the systems, that they have a username and a logon, that they have their university email address set up, and that they know how to function and access those. And then also the library facility. And the library facility, again, to a certain degree, is multifaceted in the sense that we have numerous physical library resources across the different campuses. But also, because of the nature of the apprenticeship programs, we try to ensure that the reading materials that we recommend are accessible as e-resources through the library, because that means that they're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it gives the students the opportunity to study them at the best possible time that suits them. So if their window in the day is that they're working full time, they come home in the evening, they want some family time and to have a meal and to have some time with kids, for argument's sake, and they start studying from 9 o'clock at night until 11 o'clock at night, and that suits them best, we want to be sure that they have accessibility to the materials at that time. And that's why we tend to utilize the e-library facilities as much as possible. And I think there's something like 50,000 books available through the e-library facilities. So it's pretty comprehensive. The university is also a member of a network called SCONAL, and SCONAL is 190 university and British libraries across the UK. And with utilisation of the University of Derby's ID card, students can access any of those universities, access books within those universities, and access study space within those universities. So thinking about locations within North East Derbyshire, if there is a university closer to where somebody actually lives, they can attend that library and utilise the library facilities at their local university, rather than feeling the need to have to make their way down into Derby city centre to be able to utilise the University of Derby campus facilities. Thank you, Andy. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong screen, didn't realise it moved on. And finally, just the process then. The management apprenticeships are fully fundable through the apprenticeship levy scheme. As part of the programme, students either have to produce at the outset of the programme or achieve during the programme the equivalent of functional skills level 2 in maths and English, or a GCSE grade C. If students are able to provide that certification, we can file that. They don't need to do maths and English again. If they can't, they will need to undertake maths and English, and there are, I know, a number of adult community learning schemes that they can utilise for that, but they can also undertake their maths and English at the University of Derby as part of this particular programme as well. Now, unfortunately, that also means that we are only, as I say, this is mandated by the government as part of the apprenticeship scheme, we are only allowed to give a buy on the maths and English if you can produce physical evidence that you have those certificates in place. So unfortunately, if you did your GCSE maths and English 25 years ago and you can't find those certificates and you can't replace them, you have to attend the functional skills level 2. And it is a source of frustration for a lot of people, but unfortunately it is something that we have no influence on whatsoever. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody's clear on that situation. You can apply for replacement certificates, but it's not particularly all that cheap. I think it's about 40 or 50 pounds per certificate. And that's only really on the basis that the government department can actually find copies and records of them. So unfortunately, if you can't provide the physical evidence that you have those, you do have to undertake that training again. As I mentioned there, as part of the procedure in terms of enrolling onto the programme, we undertake the skills scan. The apprenticeship appendix is part of the application process, and we also undertake the BKSB diagnostic, which every student will do, which again is just looking at maths and English. Although if you have your functional skills level 2 or GCSE grade C's in maths and English, we do, again, as part of the mandated process, have to look at how you are developing those skills within the role that you do. And we do that through the personal tutoring process, whereby we just look at effectively what individuals are doing on a day-to-day basis and how that provides an opportunity to continue to develop those skills in the role. If you have the functional skills or the GCSE grade C, it's not a mechanism that we continue to test through the process. We just have to measure and record how that's happening. And finally, in terms of the contracts, we have the apprenticeship agreement and commitment statement, which is signed by both the employer and the apprentice. And that's really about formalising that agreement, that everybody's clear on the understandings of what the apprenticeship requirements are, what the commitments are that are being made, and everybody's on board and in agreement. So thank you very much. That's all I have for this morning. My details are there, and again, we've mentioned to Maria that we're more than happy for the slides to be shared. So my details are there, Andy's details are there. If you do have any questions or queries following up from this, and once you've had a chance to reflect on what we've spoken about this morning, please do get in touch. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Andy and Spencer. That was absolutely amazing to see and hear, and it's I'm very happy that we get to spread a bit of awareness about these apprenticeships, about the wide variety that there is, about the wonderful support and the absolutely amazingly flexible delivery of these apprenticeships. And now actually to tell us about the benefits of HADL apprenticeships from the business side, from the business perspective, we have Lee Barnes, Managing Director at Inspire Design. So Lee, over to you.
Hello, good morning. I'm Lee Barnes, Managing Director of Inspire Design and Development. And I just want to talk a little bit this morning about how my business has benefited from using the apprenticeship scheme. We are consulting engineers based in Claycross. We specialise in the delivery of infrastructure for new development sites, of which North East Derbyshire has plenty currently. We employ engineers and technicians of varying levels, as well as town and country planners, and of course the back office staff required to deliver a successful business. As a small practice, competing in the employment market against much larger, often international consultancies can be a real challenge for us. Geographically, we're competing with practices from Sheffield, Nottingham, Derby, and there's a lot of competition there in those cities. Once we have managed to successfully recruit a candidate, creating the opportunities for that team member to advance their knowledge and experience is key to helping them fulfill not only their potential, but achieve their own personal goals. But training team members is it's an expensive undertaking. There's the cost of the course, the cost of the time off, the loss of productivity. Well, that's one way of looking at it anyway. We prefer to see it as an investment in the business. It's an investment in the future of the business, an investment in the future of our team. And to quote Sir Richard Branson, train people well enough so they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't want to. And that's what we try and do here. So providing opportunities for people to grow and advance helps to provide fulfillment and satisfaction within their roles. To assist in upskilling the team, we've utilised the apprenticeship scheme extensively at all levels, but the area where we're seeing the greatest impact on the business is where we have people undertaking degree level apprenticeships. And we currently have 2 undertaking degree level apprenticeships out of the team of 10. We have an aspiring engineer who joined us with a HNC qualification and a good amount of practical experience as well, it has to be said. Upon joining us, we identified him as having a high degree of potential to move on within his career, although he did lack a little bit of confidence. We spoke to him about his career aspirations, and we set him up on the civil engineering degree programme with the University of Derby, as Andy previously mentioned. Since then, we've noticed a marked difference in how he operates within the business. He has become more confident, his knowledge base has broadened, and he's starting to become a really good role model and mentor for the younger team members. The course also offers a direct route to achieving a professional qualification through the Institution of Civil Engineers, which would be a significant industry recognised benchmark. That is not only a feather in the cap for the candidate himself, but it increases the credibility of my business by increasing the number of professionally recognised individuals within the organisation. So this candidate also knows that upon successful completion of this course, it will lead to him moving into a more senior role within the team. So he's got that goal, that benchmark to aim for. The other team member on a degree level apprenticeship isn't an engineer at all. She is currently my sales and marketing manager, and she does a great job in that role. We identified her as being a natural leader with a fabulous work ethic. So in this instance, I'm thinking about succession planning for my own role. So I don't know about you guys, but I don't intend working forever. There's an awful lot of beaches out there that I haven't laid on yet. And once the world is fixed, I intend to go on and do so. So for the purposes of GDPR, we will just call this candidate Gemma, because it sounds a little bit impersonal calling her candidate. Gemma is undertaking a chartered management degree level apprenticeship in business management and leadership. And she's been able to apply much of what she's done in the business to the topics she's covering on the course and vice versa. So there's been a really useful transfer of knowledge there. I've seen Gemma start to develop really good all-round understanding of all the different facets of business and leadership. There's only so much learning I can pass on from my experience, especially as I'm self-taught. So having the opportunity to access formal education is a real bonus for me as a business owner. And as a business owner who has a keen eye for managing budgets to protect profit margins, I cannot speak highly enough of the opportunities that higher degree level apprenticeships program has unlocked for our business in terms of being able to upskill our staff. It has facilitated my desire to provide opportunities for my team members to grow as my business grows, and for them to benefit from that by becoming well qualified, confident professionals. It has helped me provide opportunities to team members that hadn't had one for one reason or another, or did not have the opportunity to go into education, higher education previously. My passion to provide opportunity to those who previously hadn't had access to a degree course stems from my own experience. I didn't enter the industry via the traditional route of doing A-levels and then a full-time degree course. I did a BTEC qualification at Chesterfield College a long time ago now, longer than I care to admit. And then I managed to get a job at Derbyshire County Councils. After 8 years or so of working, I decided to advance my career, and I was able to start a part-time degree whilst working freelance. Again, not everybody else has the opportunity to fund that themselves while they're freelancing. So the degree level apprenticeship route provides that pathway to a professional career for people who maybe don't have the opportunity for whatever reason, whether that be social or economic, or some people just don't mature academically until later in life. I certainly fit that description. So in summary, from my perspective as a business owner, and as someone who is passionate about providing alternative pathways to a professional career in civil engineering, higher and degree level apprenticeships are a valuable resource, an affordable way to upskill my team and grow my own engineers. They are facilitating our goal to punch above our weight in the market and create opportunities for our team to grow as the business grows. I also found they create loyalty within the team, and we get longevity of employment within the guys that work for us. We don't have a high turnover of staff at all. So I think I've spoken long enough now, and I'll happily hand back to our host. But I just want to thank you for the opportunity to tell you how we have benefited from the apprenticeships programme, and I would encourage all of you to grasp the opportunities that are there in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lee. That was wonderful. It's amazing. It's absolutely great to hear how much of a good impact such a program can have on a business, and how well it's integrated within the business, how many benefits it has for the business as well as the individual, their career, and in the long term for both. It's wonderful. I think this about rounds up our webinar for today. As a final point, I will invite everybody present, if they have any questions at all, drop them in the chat or just unmute yourself. It's fine, and we hope to pick them up. If there's nothing at all after this, this seems like possibly a good stop point for the recording for this session.